All right, everybody, welcome back to The Resident State, the most popular podcast in the world. Named The Resident State. Factual statement. Okay, so we are about to continue into the dark world of elite depravity. We're joined by William Ramsey, of course, of William Ramsey Investigates, Sean McCann of Wake the Dead, a resident anarchist, which is always good to have on board. And so tonight we're going to be entering, you know, you look at the documents, you look at the Epstein files, it's you can read things, it's hard to really understand the reality of it. So there's a particular film which and I'll give a little warning here, a little heads up. This is, I would have to say, this is the most disturbing film I've ever seen, and probably I can't think of any other movie that's more disturbing, but one of the most disturbing film Salo that exists. But it is a direct entry into this world, and you can see in a certain way we can parse this out to the philosophy of Epstein, to the reality of Epstein, and to the reality of our current world, where we're looking at crash and burn of the American empire, potentially global economic collapse, starvation for an unwinnable war. It's impossible to win. We cannot win. Yes, we can nuke them unless we don't have 3 million soldiers. It's stupid, but it's going and going and going, and they're not holding back. And it's fun, right? It's fun to kill kids. It's fun to blow up islands that hold 90% of the oil for a particular country, so all the other oil infrastructure can be wiped out. For we're looking at, so we are this particular class of people. We're going to get a better understanding through this film. We'll look back at the Marquis de Sade and connect the past, present, and hopefully not future. So, and I just say one thing: there are some people that are talking. I was talking to Sean today on the phone and talking about this as being a fait accompli, like this is going to happen. This is, but this is not. We're going to focus. This is not going to happen. So do not get sucked into mimetic warfare that draws you into the fact that it's already over. Right, this is starting to come up a lot. We're going to see more of it, but just a heads up to everybody: watch out. I think one reasoning behind this, besides potential blackmail of our current political situation, is COVID 2.0. Great reset. Let's do it again. Right. So let's hope that these clowns and get stopped. But guys, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for, and William's prepared a bunch of material. Thank you, William. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Let's let William say hello.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, guys. Interesting you mentioned anarchy, because there is the philosophizing was something I keyed into this time, which I didn't see in the past, but there's mentions of their ideology through anarchy. We're the ultimate anarchists. Fascists are the ultimate anarchists. Interesting statements. But it is really one of the darkest movies. I was trying to I think that the documentary about Gigi Allen was maybe a close second, but this one is definitely the first in my book. So we're going to get into dark topics, but Epstein Files is very dark. And there's so many parallels in this film with Epstein mansions and hideaways and guards and handlers and selections and pre-selections. I've followed this person for 2 years, one of the characters says. And you see that kind of thing happening here with, like, Life Touch and all this other crazy stuff. Like, we don't know. There was clearly somebody was brought in and disappeared from Ukraine into the Epstein network. So, and didn't they don't know what happened to that person, that girl. So, the parallels are really stark. So I think it's important to look at this. Pasolini, an author, kind of closed up last week with a little few videos of him. He was really a literary figure up until he was 40, and this movie came out in 75, and he was strangely killed, murdered, something happened, and the movie was released posthumously. So after he died in 1975, and I think it's still resonant today, and it's just gotten this reputation, like you said, Hans, it's like really one of the darkest films, and I think a lot of people saw it as over the top, like it was too extreme for people to actually take seriously. In my context, looking at all the research I've done with Sean on Eyes Wide Shut and Kubrick, and then the Epstein files, and the Epstein network. I think that he was ahead of his time. So I really respect Pasolini for making the film, because I think these things happen and they're covered up. Like this kind of stuff happened, like really dark stuff happened in like camps in Gaza. Um, these things that, we don't know the full story of Gaza, the murders and the rapes and things that are happening there, this power dynamic. Sean and I were kind of emailing earlier today about that. He's going to talk about that. But it's a very dark subject, and it goes into the darkest parts of human behavior that are real, like serial killers. I think have the same psychology of these guys. So, anyway, thanks for being here. Thanks for everybody for waiting. And I think we're gonna, at the end of this, it'll be a discovery and a greater understanding of that. The id part of the human brain. It exists.
But I do want to make one caveat, right? That unlike Satanism, I mean, sorry, not say, unlike serial killers, these people are involved in collectives. These are elite collectives. They share, they trade. It is a social organization, right? And and like Huysman, they mention Huysman, right? In the film, they mention him and Nietzsche at one point, right? So Huysman, and so Huysman is important because in his writing, he shows this journey from sort of decadent, sensuality to Satanism. Then finally, he becomes sort of spiritual religions. But he talks about elite Satanism in Europe and interconnected networks of this, and they feed off of this, the decadent pleasure. This is a very important component, is pleasure, right? And so this feeds into these networks.
Is it pleasure though? I mean, they get pain too, and they like it. It's like it's psychopathy, like it's the satanic inversion, the whole Sabbatean, like it's not just pleasure. They're not just having. I mean, they get pleasure from watching girls eat a bread with nails in it. Like, yeah. Or they get pleasure with a girl like talking about how or crying because her mom died in front of her, like trying to save her from the fate of this place. And she cries and they all stand up and they all like, oh yeah, she's great. Because they want pain. They want pain in others, and it's pleasure for them. It's like pure sadism. And I just wanted to mention, because anarchy, before we go, like um anarchists aren't like these people. You know what I mean? It's not really anarchy. Like a fascist dominates other people. So a fascist is a master. And how can a master be an anarchist? Because it believes in a master slave relationship. I mean, like sadism is master slave relationship between the victim and the perpetrator. So like that is the antithesis of anarchy. In all honesty, anarchy is all beings are free. There are no slaves. That's what it really means. So it's not no rules. I mean, obviously, if you hurt someone, they get mad, and you get repercussions from that kind of thing. So, like, anarchists can have order. They just don't have masters. And so that's a big part of it. So, like the fascists, they're crazy. I mean, they think that they are free when they are in a hierarchical order of obedience to their masters above them. In this situation, they made a little scenario where they are the kings of this, like the absolute rulers of this little villa. But in order to get all that money, they had to be under someone else. They didn't, it didn't just happen by accident, or they just didn't just have that money. Like one of them was a bishop, one of them was a president, one of them was a duke, and the last one was a judge. So like they got there because of doing evil their whole career, and this was the end of the war. This was like 44 to 45 in in France. That's like it was fascist, no, Italy, not France, but it was fascist Italy, and Mussolini had the backing of Hitler, and Uh, in the film, you could hear the Allied planes above, and they were just ignoring it. They're just like, we're having this 120 days. We're just going to do this here. And like, it, blocked out everything and so they created this little world where they are total masters. And so I just want to talk about, like, I want to focus a lot on the psychology of these freaks and how it is the same that, like, it is Satanism, like legit. It's anti-human. They get pleasure from pain. It's the opposite of all natural everything. It's kind of what we've been talking about this whole time, and Satanism exposed, and um these people in the film, they had rituals and stuff. They had mock weddings and weird inversions of and desecrating these sacred ceremonies. And that's just common Satanism. That's like what all of them do. They all invert the black mass is the regular mass inverted. So they're like doing the Sabbatean Frankists. What they do, they're doing the whole Satanism scheme. Like that's the whole mentality and the whole mentation of these people. So I'm probably going to be harping on that, but that's what I wanted to focus on.
It's interesting you bring that stuff up. The background, the historical background. I keyed into more of it than I did when I watched this probably 10 years ago. But it was the intro of them. The Germans are really the force. So these guys are actually in a fashion underneath the Germans, because the Germans are the one who installed Mussolini in Salo. So you see some of the backdrop themes of the clothing are all Alpine, and it's all very accurate. Like, I was looking at it, and there's little speeches in there having to do with like Northern Italian stuff. They're also very North-South is very emphasized in Italian life and culture, whether you're from the South or North. And there's some statements in there. There's also, I keyed into the different languages that were going on. There's reference statements in German, statements in French. So it's kind of has a much more cosmopolitan or international sense in this watching that I did. And also, it's interesting you mentioned Huysmans. They also mentioned Baudelaire. So you see them at maybe a higher literary, or I did, higher literary caliber this watch through than I did before, and some of the quotes and things like that. So it just shows kind of the sophistication of Pasolini. I don't think of him as kind of like a shock jock director, even though the stuff is hyper shocking. But I think that, like I said, and I was talking to you guys in the pre-show, I just had this picture because it came up on my social media. I follow this guy, Robin Minotti. His grandfather, here is his grandfather pictured with Pasolini. They're having a nice repast, it looks like, and he's kissing some woman named Anna Manani. But I thought it was interesting. So just an interesting piece of history. But yeah, and for people who don't know, this guy died before the movie came out. It's almost kind of like Eyes Wide Shut in a weird way. Like he dies before
he was murdered.
Yeah, murdered, right?
Yeah. And they claim it was somebody who was molested by him or was raped or some shit. So like, and that's how. I mean, it seems like one of those Pizzagate cover-ups, like where they just sent somebody in to do so, like to act weird, where they actually had him murdered by somebody else, where that was a professional, and they like destroyed his genitals and his face, and they ran him over with his own car.
That's like a personal thing, right?
Yeah,
it's almost like the film. Like, hey,
right. And so for that, the people that all heard about it, they're like, oh well, yeah, it must have been somebody that got molested by him, really angry, So that's.
Was there any evidence? I mean, I knew the guy was gay, but was there any evidence that he was like that kind of person, like a pedophile? Like there's pedophilia.
No, and everybody seemed really to love him. Everybody loved him. All the people that worked for him and all the movies and stuff. Everybody was like, they even loved being on the set of this film.
Interesting.
They would play soccer every day and like hang out, like football or whatever. And they would like have they would be jovial in between takes, you know, and the actors didn't actually know it was going to be so bad.
Oh wow.
It's weird. Like they, you know, I mean, like when they brought out the the poop, you know, it does look really bad, you know. And one of the women actually, when she pukes in the film, that was her really puking, even though it was chocolate, it was not feces, but still, like her mind made her puke because it looked so real. It's next level, man. It's next level.
People who like filmography or cineasts will know Ennio Morricone, who was a consultant on this. And you hear at the very end, it's Carmina Burana. That's what they're playing at the end of this film, which is
Wasn't that written for this?
I don't think so. I think Carmina Burana was written by like a Nazi sympathizer during World War II, but I could be wrong. It seems like the right selection too.
That was the one that was turned at the end by the.
Yeah, he turns it at the end and then goes and dance. So the last little bit, it was like
maybe
the spring is
dance.
coming. Or it's very kind of a dark reference actually, because it's like, oh, spring is here, winter's over. And Carmina Burana, just like some of the more famous clips of it is about like fortune, oh fortuna, da, 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 da. And people will know that right when they heard it. It's interesting too, is that in my version, I guess there's different edits, but in my version, they actually start off with a bibliography. Like you can't even believe it. So like some of the stuff about Desaad and stuff, like they put his Simone de Beauvoir and this, which is very uncinematic like these days. And they would never do this in the United States. But like, hey, this is what I'm referencing for this film.
That's great, because then it proves that it's not just crazy out of his head. He's like, look, guys, I didn't come up with this.
Right. I mean, that's go ahead. I know Hansen has more about Desaad.
Yeah, no, the one thing to understand is that, I mean, there's a whole deeply thought out philosophy behind this, right? And you know, and we'll maybe talk a bit about the music too. But one thing about the movie is the music; it shows this contrast of civility and just barbarism. And of course, the opening credits, they go on forever with that, you know, kind of very flowery, happy music, you know, as you like that, and then you go into it. But I just, if you don't mind, I just want to read a few quotes from Desaad, just to get sort of a flavor. We can probably parse this out later. I'll just do some short quotes. But now from nature we obtain abundant information about ourselves and precious little about others. About the woman you clasp in your arms, can you say with certainty that she does not feign pleasure? About the woman that you mistreat, are you quite sure that from abuse she does not derive some obscure and lascivious satisfaction? Let us confine ourselves to simple evidence through thoughtfulness, gentleness, concern for the feelings of others. We saddle our own pleasure with restrictions and make this sacrifice to obtain a doubtful result. Rather, is it not normal for a man to prefer what he feels to what he does not feel? And have we ever felt a single impulse from nature bidding us to give others preference over ourselves? And then he goes on to talk about morals and basically says, well, relative values. Morals, a word about two morals. Are you unaware that murder was honored in China, rape in New Zealand, theft in Sparta? The man you watch being drawn and quartered in the marketplace, what has he done? He ventured to acquit himself in Paris of some Japanese virtue. That other whom we have left to rot in a dark dungeon, what was his crime? He read Confucius. No, Justine, the virtue and vice they shout about are words which, when you scan them for their meaning, never yield anything but local ideas. At best, if you consider them rightly, they tell you in which country you should have been born. Moral science is simply geography misconstructed. Okay, so that's an important thing. I'll just do a little bit more. You want to?
I just real quick. I just want to remind everybody the tenets of Satanism, the true tenets of Satanism, start with self is king, most important. The second one is moral relativism, and that right there is explained. He's saying morals are relative, guys. And then you get social Darwinism, where people think that they're better than others, and then eugenics, where they think they're allowed to kill. those that they believe are less than. So this is what we're going to see today in this. Okay. Anyway, please continue, Hans.
Yeah, I'll just read a few more quotes. But he talks a lot about pleasure, slavery, mastery of others, right? And it's a whole justification of this. Um, I'll just read a few more quotes here. Um, I, I would simply draw your attention to one thing, that a pact of this kind presupposes the equality of the contracting parties. I renounce doing you harm, which means I was free to harm you up until then. I renounce harming you now. This means I have been free to harm you up until now. Imagine, however, you are delivered utterly into my power, the way a slave is into his master's. The way a man condemned to die is handed over to his executioner. How could it possibly occur to me to strike a bargain with you whereby you acquire illusory rights through my foregoing real rights? If you're unable to hurt me, why in the world should I fear you and deprive myself for your sake? But let us go still further. You will grant me that everybody draws his pleasure from the exercise of his particular faculties and attributes, like an athlete from wrestling, the generous man from his benevolent actions, thus also the violent man from his very violence. If you are completely in my power, it is from oppressing you that I'm going to reap my greatest joys. That man be human is not something I stake my life on. So he's saying man is not human. Okay. However, observe this also. As the mighty man takes pleasure from the exercise of his strength, so does the gentle or the weak man profit from his compassion. He too has a good time. Why the devil must I further reward him for the enjoyment he gives himself? Civilization has changed the aspect of nature. Civilization nevertheless respects her laws. The rich of today are just as ferocious in their exploitation of the poor as the violent used to be in their vexation of the helpless. All these financiers, all these important personages you see would bleed the entire population dry if they fancied its blood might yield a few grains of gold. And here we go, just a little bit more. That religion, conventional morality, society itself are among those malignant inventions. So, religion, conventional morality, society itself are malignant inventions which enable certain individuals, they being none other than the most powerful individuals, to victimize the lower classes. This is a proposition contradicted by no 18th century writer concerned with ideas. So, I mean, he goes on and on.
What's that from?
This is from, this is philosophical. This is from
Philosophy in the bedroom.
Yeah, philosophy in the bedroom.
It's so interesting that he wrote that around that time, because it's right as the French Revolution, where you had this, let them eat cake attitude, right? And that's what people were literally like starving in the streets. That's what led to the revolution, is like a bread riot or something like that. Oh, that's what was the fuse, I guess. But it's really incredible.
Well, see, it has, so he's saying morality, religion, society, these are all malignant inventions, and it is to the man of power to assert his power through complete domination. And there are no human values because it is simply nature, right? This is Jean-Jacques Rousseau in a very twisted way, but basically it's the obtaining of complete domination and servitude. And in fact, they believe that is the role and essentially the duty of the non-humans that they enslave. And so, and it goes on, but it's justified as being natural law, basically, according to Desaad.
And it's expressed through Salo, right? These four
Right.
guys are the representations of the traditional power structure, right? Political, religious, judicial, something else. What was the other one? Oh, like aristocratic, right? The Duke.
Right.
So
And
Desaad was one of them, right? He was a marquis, right?
right.
Landed.
Yeah,
state.
he's born rich. Yeah. And the way that these uh well, no, I lost it. I had a good one. but but so this the way that they think, the way that they are, okay, what I was saying before is that nature to them is there is no there is no consequence for bad actions. They believe when they look at nature that the dominant rules and the weak one just gets eaten. It's the law of the jungle, not like natural law, you know. Even George H.W. Bush talks about the law of the jungle. But I mean, that's what they're talking about, and they don't believe in the afterlife and the consequences being, uh, enacted upon the soul. They think that the true nature is no consequences and no morality.
You know what? I'm just going to read one last quote. This is from, again, Philosophy in the Bedroom. Um, Cruelty is simply the energy in a man civilization has not yet altogether corrupted. Therefore, it is a virtue, not a vice. Repeal your laws. Do away with your constraints, your chastisements, your habits, and cruelty will have dangerous effects no more, since it will never manifest itself save when it meets with resistance, and then the collision will always be between competing cruelties. It is it is in the civilized state. Cruelty is dangerous because the assaulted person nearly always lacks the force or means to repel injury. But in the state of uncivilization, if cruelty's target is strong, he will repulse cruelty. And if the person is attacked is weak, why, the case here is merely that of assault upon one of those persons who, within nature's law, prescribes to yield to the strong. So nature's law prescribes that the weak become the slaves of the masters and they can be debased as much as they want. And he's saying it's cruelty for the slave to resist being a slave. It's cruelty to the master. And this is a defect of civilization. So um, but it goes on, but basically this is how to make people into slaves, into just the total debasement of the personality. And Justine is about that, as is the story of O. Right, the story of O, written by the guy that also Batiel, who wrote the Accursed Chair, but under a pseudonym wrote the story of O, which is a similar thing. The story of O is about this woman who just becomes debased and debased and debased and just becomes a complete slave, a complete, sex slave, ultimately, so and this is seen as the law of nature in action.
I wanted to bring up the beginning of that quote where Hans was talking about that society should be changed to accept the debasement. It's kind of like what Arthur C. Clarke was saying long ago. William and I did a show about Arthur C. Clarke, and we had quotes from him where he says, the only harm that ever happens, that ever comes to the child who gets abused by him or people like him, is when the child learns it's bad later from the parents saying, "Oh, that was bad." And the kids don't know it's bad until they're told it's bad. And then the psychiatrists and the parents and all that. So he says it's wrong for the parents to do that and they should just let it be fine, change society. Yeah.
This is like ties right into what you're saying, Hans. Is a quote from the Duke, where he's like, "It is when I see others degraded that I rejoice, knowing it is better to be me than the scum of the people. Whenever men are equal, without that difference, happiness cannot exist. No voluptuousness flatters the senses more than social privilege." So he's like the aristocratic bent that Marquis de Sade is saying. So you can see the concepts of de Sade in this film, in the dialogue, for sure.
Well, they lifted actual text from 120 Days of Sodom. So
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, they actually took text from it. Like when the women are giving their stories, that's from the book. And the whole scenario of the four people going to a villa, that's all 120 Days of Sodom, which was written while de Sade was in the Bastille in prison. and he like wrote it on toilet paper.
That's right.
Yeah. And it was kind of reenacted with the V for Vendetta thing where where the girl was in prison and she was reading the scroll of the other person that was in there. And it's weird how it gets like folded into other stories. But yeah, that he died thinking that the scroll burned when the Bastille burned, because he was taken out of the cell and he wasn't able to take his scroll with him. And he thought that was the most important thing he's ever written.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then and one of the guards went and found it and kept it and then sold it later for huge money. And then other people were buying it for like rich people had it and they would bring it out at parties and like read from it.
It makes
And
perfect sense, right? It's kind of like something for the elite
yes,
mentality.
and eventually France itself said, we need this is important for our history as a country. So they bought it and now it's in a museum.
And it's that mentality through the film and through Epstein, like the goyim, right? They're just cattle.
Yeah.
And those pictures that I sent you, Sean, about the furniture, you know,
Yes.
it seems like it was also emphasized in this film in Salo. It's just like incredible stuff and like used as pawns. Like, but the thing is like maybe the average person, the bourgeois, is like, you got to have kind of sympathy for these people. These people don't. They don't care. That's the whole thing. Is like they're expressing their natural law, right? Just like Han said, right?
Yeah, their psychopathy, right?
Well, and one other thing, and I would say maybe after this one, it'd be great just to go through your sequential ordering of the show. But one of the things that Desaad talks about quite frequently is that, so when you become the man, you know, within this, right? So you become sort of the elevated, right? You indulge in pleasure and you have to keep going to more and more and more extreme. So from orgies to butchering babies and eating their flesh and to debasement and cruelty, and these become more and more pleasures, but then you have to expand the cruelty. You have to create greater and greater and greater levels, which is exactly what we see in this film. What we see, you know, I think we see people run in the world, or at least part of the world, that this is what they are. This is who they are, and they will continue to be this way unless they're stopped.
I think you're right. I think that's what you see in the Dutroux affair when you really get into it in the art and stuff like that. They are talking about, you know, chasing people and haunting and just abuse. I mean, I think this is interesting. This guy's Julian Dory, and he's talking to one of the Epstein victims, and it just kind of resonated with me the way that they thought about her. And she goes, "I was just a pawn. Just listen to this."
But you're useful to them to do that. That's how they look at it.
Yeah,
It's
that's how
like,
because they're friends. They're just, you
right.
know, you're just like pawns for them. I mean, you don't really matter to them.
Yeah, there's a couple things clocking for me. Number one, what you're describing right here, I'll be conservative and say it's not much different from some form of sex trafficking. And if I want to be really just off the cuff with this, it sounds like sex trafficking to me. I'll let people in the comments decide that on their own, I guess.
Yeah.
But the second thing is the years where this is happening to you psychologically, 15, 16, 17, 18, you're getting desensitized to all of it. It is being ingrained in you as a young girl that this is normal. This is how things work. Oh, you want to have this career and whatever, you have talent. Lisa, you'll be great at this, but you got to do these things. And it's, but look, everyone else is doing it too.
Yeah, I guess in a way, it's kind of like that. I mean, no one really says it like that, but I think you kind of have to play along a little bit. You learn pretty quickly when you speak out, or that nobody really cares, or you should be quiet. Yeah.
Did your parents ask you about anything that ever happened when you?
I just think it's interesting, like the pawn, and you adapt to it. You adapt to them. This is their habitat, you know, the predator class, the Epstein network, whatever you want. It's just incredible stuff. This is just one of like hundreds of like testimonies too, guys. Like I did when Epstein died, the judge, his name was Berman too. It's kind of confusing, but he allowed all the victims to come in 2019 and tell their story just for the record. And the stories are all the same, you know. you abused me, I was treated terribly. A lot of these people were payout. I think that somebody said like the payouts are 800 million. So it's just an extensive network of abuse. It's off the charts.
Just
But
one other thing that ties us into Epstein, of course, with Desaad is the whole thing of how do you groom the person to become the slave. And so some of these dialogues I was reading, the first ones are actually dialogues to a woman that he wants to induct and become her master. And how is this done? And how do you inculcate this slavery, this, the torture? Because in their thinking, this is the logical role for the slave, for the inferior. And it is cruelty for them to resist slavery. But this process of subtle degradation, culminating in, basically total slavery, like the story of O, or complete, where you accept the slavery, you revel in, you know what I mean? So it's really, it's very diabolical.
right, it's the conditioning, the psychological conditioning of the victim, right, into that role. And you see that how people resist it, they get angry, but they may not know that it's like being in a cult. They may not even know the totality of this dynamic. Whereas these guys are trained. Epstein Ricari, who died young and mysteriously, well, I think at 50 for a cop, but he was like dumpster diving, and these are the receipts that he found. S&M 101, a realistic introduction. This is after 2007, 2008. Slavecraft roadmaps for erotic servitude, and a workbook for erotic slaves and their owners, like ownership. So Epstein knew this early. Like, who knows what he was doing before 2006 and 7? But I mean, we know he knows NLP and stuff like that. So he's like one of these guys in Salo to me. And I mean, the similarities between some of these women and Ghislaine are overt. They're obvious. They're like handlers and facilitators to the abuse. Like, I think that some of these women are clearly like that.
There was a survivor that was saying that Ghislaine had a closet of pain implements, tools for making pain, like bondage stuff that's really bad. And she showed it to her laughing as if like a threat. I downloaded the video. I could probably find it.
Giuffre's biography, she talked about like some of the stuff that's not really, I haven't seen it covered in the national media, but Epstein would get her, and there's the other art girl who was Asian. I know her name. I don't want to mention it, but heavy duty S&M stuff, like leather, the other art, like the top, Asian, this whole thing. Really dark stuff, like strangulation and ropes around the neck and all that.
Yeah, that relates to Justine too, right? And Justine was on Epstein had Justine also.
And so he had a lot of stuff. He had Nabokov. He's directly associated with Nabokov. There's a lot of pedophilia in Salo too. Talk about like kids and stuff. But one of the interesting things, I think I mentioned it in another show. I don't know if it was ours, but Epstein was friends with another Epstein named Edward J. Epstein, who was kind of like a left-wing writer. He was a JFK researcher, but his literal, like, I think his thesis manager, his boss at some school in New York was none other than Nabokov. So like literally, and that's why these books are all through Epstein stuff, and on the bookshelves and tables and stuff is Lolita. So it's a tie over to Kubrick and some of this other stuff. This furniture, this picture from Epstein, really just like, this is it. Like, she's basically a piece of exercise equipment. I think that's what the suggestion is. Whoever this victim is, that's EFTA 01643291.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's also the other element of where the master, is essentially like, there's a like, the side basically says that the victim is guilty, not the one who is abusing the person. It's the person who's being abused that's guilty. They're letting themselves being abused. They're abused. It's their karma, not the person that's abusing them. You know what I mean? So in a sense, they transfer all the guilt to their to what the people they're treating as objects, right? I mean, and this is something, who's guilty, the one who's doing the injury or the person who lets themselves be injured? It's the person who lets themselves be injured. You know what I mean? So and it's cruelty to nature to resist the master's impulse. And I think, and this is going back, I mean, people may not know, I mean, Desaad is, we're talking, a couple centuries now, right? And very important philosophical underpinning, and I think it's underpinning of the elite culture for, I mean, at least a large segment of it.
Yeah, this is another one. There she is, kind of like a furniture. I don't know what the heck's going on, but somebody took this picture of this woman under a table, and then in the background is this baby shrimp picture of like a kid in a freaking sink for some odd reason. I don't even know why.
And they don't pay attention to any of it. They're just doing their stock trading or whatever.
Some kind of scam, drug dealing, or short selling some item, or like
Selling women online.
yeah, we don't make money like the goys make money. We do some kind of weird scam or some, winning a lottery deal or something like who knows?
Vaccines.
Yeah,
Right.
vaccines.
Yep. Women as furniture. Yeah. And that started in Lolita when Quilty was crawling up the stairs. He was offering Humbert, he says, I'm thinking of moving to Italy or something like that, and you can have this house. It's kind of drafty in the winter, but it's okay. You can, and I'll give you some people. I know some friends. You can use them as furniture. know this one guy that his face looks like a bookcase. And then he goes on to say, "Would you like to see executions? I can fix it so that you can see executions." And you can tell your friends, no one else knows the chair is yellow, right? Which is probably some kind of Twilight language,
Right,
whatever. The chair being yellow,
right.
like that's probably something important. But yeah, that was a quote.
That's what you see, the similarities between Pizzagate and the Epstein files are all these strange inside terms like so many babies, so little vegetable, cream cheese, or what the heck is that?
There's
Weird
also that
stuff.
book, Robert Chambers, The King in Yellow, which is quite a very interesting book. And this guy wrote a number of kind of occult novels, and he was very much, had this big estate up in, whatever, upstate New York. But yeah, so The King in Yellow, that's Robert W. Chambers. And his other books talk about all these elite networks, but they're very hard to find now. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him.
What about the Yellow King from the first season of True Detective?
That's Robert W. Chambers reference.
That's okay. That's what.
Yeah, so he was considered sort of one of the progenitors of weird fiction. I think King in Yellow was 1890 something. I believe. I may be wrong on that, but yeah.
No, you're right. It's late 19th century, and it's not a very long book. It's kind of like, actually, it's strange. It's in that same kind of thing of Crowley's poetry and Baudelaire and all that stuff. Same, and Huysman, that you mentioned earlier. Anti-Inferno denotes the first segment of the film structure, symbolizing an introductory phase of degradation and power establishment. So they're establishing their dominance, like right there at the beginning, with their rules. And he writes stuff down like a lawyer in here. Here are the rules, and they actually start the film out with a contract between the four, which I think is this visual representation of actual fascism, not like somebody on the street screaming fascism like a lunatic, but like these guys are all part of the power structure, contracting in writing amongst themselves, So the agreement starts early between the representation of aristocracy, jurisprudence, political power, and what was the other one? Finance? I can't remember.
It was
Anyway,
president.
President. Yeah,
Bishop.
president.
Yeah, right.
President, Bishop, Judge, and Duke. Yeah.
But after they signed the contract to this regolamenti or whatever, then they agree to marry each other's daughters.
Right.
What's that all about? Okay, now that's like an affront to God. That's they're mixing their genes like the Habsburgs do with their it's almost like a blood pact where you can have my daughter, I'll have your daughter, and then they subject the daughters to this torture. The daughters are there.
It's like eyes wide shut. They're just bringing them into the system. The
Yeah.
system of torture, degradation, power, all that stuff. Wow. Yeah.
But it's like it's like the same kind of sacrifice of your children. Like, I don't care. Go ahead. It's showing how powerful they are by not caring. It's like how their strength and their Satanism. It's really sick.
It's really crazy. Like, it's weird how these guys operate. And there's one of the interesting files that a lot of people have overlooked in the files. Like, they believe the whole cover story that Trump has provided. Like, I got rid of him in 2005 and I kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. That's just that's fake news. It's baloney. But one of the things that people have overlooked is there's one of the emails says, Epstein's writing, just hanging out with the Trump boys, good times, 2016. So literally, like, right as Trump is running either for office or something like that, Epstein's hanging out with the boys. I don't know what that puts them at, 10 years ago, but like, just being in the presence of Epstein is a real tell, but I'm sure the right would never touch that. It's too incendiary, but it just shows, like, I think it adds on to what you said, Sean, is this kind of like, okay, I'm involved with Epstein. Now my kids are involved with Epstein, right? So my boys are on that. This is our system.
Right. Yeah, and the psychopaths have to abuse their kids to turn them into psychopaths because it's not a genetic trait. So in order for whatever top of the pyramid, when they have their kid might grow up to be a tree hugger hippie. You got to abuse that kid. You got to take him away from his mother. You got to do all these, so that he grows up to be a ruthless scoundrel. Like, look at Rockefeller's dad, Devil Bill or something he was called, and he tried to cheat his son at every chance he could, like do a trust fall and let him fall on the ground, and like made the kid not trust anyone. And he grew up to be John D. Rockefeller, that never took a drink because he was worried that someone would, like, cheat him or something while he was drunk. Like, his psychology was so destroyed by his father's bad parenting, which was, and he was trying to make him ready for this bad world, trying to make him tough and shit. It's very weird the way that they do.
It is interesting that the father was a snake oil salesman.
Yeah, literally.
And then the son grows up to, like, corner and monopolize oil.
Well,
like,
also
which is
the medical
kind of snake
system.
oil. It's kind of like, you don't need oil that much.
But oil is one thing, but look at the whole medical system, petroleum-based medicine guy, where he destroyed the entire existing medical system, while he himself used homeopathy.
And then look at Rockefeller and their family created Kinsey, legit straight up created Kinsey and put him onto the world. And then look at what that turned into, and look what else they funded. Like, it all comes from that spark of psychopathy from the beginning, and it just kind of rolls down the generations, gets worse and worse. And now those people think that they're like these guys who can just abuse anybody, just feed somebody some nails and laugh.
Look at David and
right.
What's the other? David Lawrence is huge in financing all the UFOs and all these alternate religions and stuff. He's everywhere. Like, there's a picture of him with Mac and the guy, like, incredible stuff. Lawrence Rock, there should be a book just on him hanging out with Hillary Clinton, who's in the news recently. And then what's the one who died young? What's his name? There were 5, right? There was the supposed one who's the dad of Bill Clinton, the guy who went to Arkansas, who died young. Then his girl, and then David, Lawrence, and Nelson. Nelson was the other
Nelson. And Nelson was like Israel had blackmail on him, and so he totally worked for them today.
Dave just happened to be in Manhattan on 9/11. Like, right in his biography, there I was at the top of the tower watching the events happen. Like, that's the whole. There should be a book on people who just got away, or like Larry Lutnick or some of these other people who were like, "Yeah, I was supposed to be at work that day, but I guess I tripped and stubbed my toe and I had to go pick my kid up from school or whatever their excuses are." There's so many people who were supposed to be on planes and things who didn't get on, and their excuses just questionable.
Yeah, just two comments on this. There's a guy who I think his first name is Jeffrey. He's the one who really first brought out game theory in relation to 9/11. He did a lot of detailed research on game theory, and then he was working I mean, he kind of disappeared, but he was working with sort of a Rockefeller who had sort of jumped ship, and he was working on some project with him. So I'm not sure what happened to that guy. This is the original guy that did game theory, and I'm forgetting. He did detailed analysis of the whole thing from 9/11 to the war on terror to all these different things to 2008 financial market crash and how this is using highly developed game theory modeling. The last thing is psychopathy, though, can also be an epigenetic trait, right? So things can become epigenetic, which means it will be passed on to generations. Like an example of an
By the torture, you mean? Have the torture switching the switches on the genes?
Yeah, well, example. I mean, there's a lot of like, for example, epigenetic phenomena is music, right? So people, if you have 3 or 4 generations of people that are talented in music, there's going to be a likelihood that the child will have
Right.
that talent. So these are called epigenetic.
Psychopathy, though, I think is different. It's I believe things are genetically passed, but I don't think that psychopathy. I think that's an aberration. That's aberration. That's like not normal. Anyway, but that's where we disagree. It's just a disagreement.
There may be a
But
tendency. Maybe you said there could be an epigenetic tendency. But anyways, yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
people in the chat are some of them do get it. Like the monarch mind control is generational, and that's true because the as far as what Hans was saying with the epigenetic traits being passed on, the dissociation is what they're looking for, and that gets passed on. That's what the monarch is all about. And
They're just themes like that overlap the whole water and the mansions that are here.
right. And the
This is the
photography is
kids.
really beautiful. Like it's like architecture photography, where you get to see the building, you get to see the room and the ornate, and it's like the camera is far away. It's not up close. It's like it gives a distance, which is a little comforting. So those are the daughters there. Yeah, marrying each other's daughters.
Hey,
Marrying each other's daughters will seal our destinies forever.
by the way, would you mind just giving? I think the listeners might want a synopsis of the film, especially if they haven't seen it, and you may not want to see it, but just to give an overview because I don't know if people really understand it's not. You couldn't really call it a plot, but I mean the basic outline of the film.
I'll go.
Yeah, Sean, go ahead.
So it's based on Marquis de Sade's 120 Days of Sodom, and it's also inspired by Dante's Levels of Hell. So it starts, okay, there are these 4, we spoke how they are like the top of the society, and they are fascists in Italy, and the war is coming to an end. They know it's all over. So they choose to have 120 days, like 4 months in a villa, and they're going to do whatever they desire, and they're going to have it be like a paradise for them. And we're going to see what kind of psychology they have. It's not a normal paradise. It's not like sitting on the beach or something. So anyway, they sign a pact. Maybe it's for the payment of the villa. Maybe it's like, but they sign a thing. So maybe that is for satanic ritual. Maybe it's like occult ritual. They're signing into something that some kind of satanic brotherhood or whatever. Who knows what that? I'd have to look into that. The title on the top of the word on the cover. But anyway, okay, moving on. So they invite their daughters, who are finely dressed, rich women that are privileged, You know, they grew up as daughters of these rich guys, and they're like, okay, now they marry each other's daughters. They're like, the daughters are like, okay, you know, and they go and they get military personnel to go and kidnap 8 boys and 8 girls, and they're like teenage age, whatever, and you know, they range from like 12 to like 16 or something, and they also have I forget how many teenage enforcers. They're like child soldiers that have machine guns that are there to like enforce the rules. And they were chosen for the size of their penis because they're part of the crap that happens later. Uh and they also have 4 women who are old prostitutes that are used up trash, but they have like, you know, fancy clothes, and they think that they're high society. And these women, they tell stories of what they experienced being child prostitute. You know, the first one talks about how she was like 7 and she was made to service all these old men, and you know, and they tell the stories with all the people listening in this hall. And at any moment, these rich guys can grab any one of the slaves and bring them into another room and rape them. And that's so they listen to the erotic in quotes stories, and then they go and do what they fancy, you know. Uh, so this happens. The first segment is called the Circle of Hell or something. I forget exactly, but that one, it we see the humiliation and the sexual rape, not just the violent rape. Um, we see as as one of the soldiers is raping one of the girls, the president there with the lazy eye starts exposing his a-hole to everybody. He's telling them, "You must look at it," and then he goes and he sits next to the woman getting raped. And he's like, "It's my turn," and then the dude just pulls out and goes into him, and then we close up on his face as he's enjoying it. It's very sick. So like that. So it's not like they are doing that to others. They also want to be abused. And so next is the circle of shit, where um, they basically, this one woman is crying because her mother died trying to save her from this fate. And they mentioned how they killed their mother and how great it was. And then the girl starts crying, and they were like, "Oh, oh, yeah, we forgot. Yeah, your mother died. Yeah. Oh, this is perfect. This is perfect." And then they're watching her cry. And then the guy goes over, this one standing, and he takes a dump on the floor. And he says, eat it raw." And she's like crying and eats shit. And then it goes from there. They don't let them use toilets. They make them shit in chamber pots, and then they collect all of it. They feed them certain food to make them shit certain shit so that they can eat it. They have a banquet with very ornate, opulent banquet, and it's all feces in big piles, and the people have to eat it. Uh, one of the and they're, you know, they're puking, and the men are eating it too. They enjoy it. They love it. They smell the air. They it's just it's sick. And so then the okay, there's also a marriage. There's like a marriage between one of the males and one of the females, and it's like this ceremonial ritual where they yell at them to fornicate now that they're married, and then they start to like feel comfortable with each other, and then the men yell, "No, we get to deflower," and then they run in and start raping both of them. And then as one is raping the girl, like one of the one of the banker buddies or whatever comes up behind his friend and starts raping his friend, and it just whatever. It's just absolutely sick. So and the kids, the children have to act like dogs. They're on leashes. They're making them eat like out of dog bowls. Um, they put nails in the food and make them eat the food, and they watch them bleed. Uh, and then there's the circle of blood, and it ends in torture. It's brutal torture and killing. They scalp a woman. They burn the penis of a male. They burn with hot irons and nipples off of people, whipping and tied to the ground. There's hangings. There's in the not deleted, but the stolen scenes, they had like electric chair. They had and the men would take turns sitting in a chair high up in the house, far away behind a window. They would sit and they would look through their binoculars and watch as voyeurs from far away. And so that happens, and the people are murdered and torn apart, and there's this music, and then two of the soldier boys turn the station of the music, and it's like a dance waltz song, and they put down their guns and they waltz with each other like they're carefree. And then one of them asks, "What's the name of your girlfriend?" And he answers, and then it's the end. So like those children who were holding the guns, they participated, they watched it all, and they were able to assimilate it as that's normal. And the next generation is not going to do anything about the last generation. And yeah, I think that's it. Did I miss anything, guys?
Say the beginning, which is quite interesting, is, hey, you can't see me. I'm just a comment. I'm invisible in the screen. There you go. Yeah. Not that it matters, but I just. But basically, no. In the beginning, so they go hunting for the kids and they select them. They capture them.
Right.
Occasionally, it looks like a parent has brought someone in or some caretaker. Then they have a selection process, including like a lottery, and they make them strip naked and this and that, and then they select them, but they're kidnapped. They're kidnapped and then brought into literally a market, right, where they get to go and choose their victims. It's nine and nine, right? 9 boys and 9 girls.
I thought it was 8, but yeah, that's
I think it was 9 and 9 because the girl got killed in the beginning because she prayed or something and they cut her throat. So
right.
It said now it's 8.
And then the kid ran out of the truck, and then they shot him dead, and then like, it was 9, now it's 8. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, figures is 9, the most satanic number. Yeah. And they also they made them strip down, and they were choosing them. But when they brought the girl whose mother died, they talked about how her mother died, and they all 4 of them stood up like, "Oh my God, like what a treasure." You could look how she's already crying. Like, that was interesting.
Yeah, they're like vampires. They're like the Epstein class. They're get off on it, like you've said before. But there was also one, if I remember at the beginning, he's like, "I've wanted to search for this person for 2 years." So like this pre-selection process is there. And that's what happens in the Epstein. Like you see so many emails. I got one from Brazil. I got this person from here. I had this one thing. I don't know if you guys saw it, but on my social media, I posted something with a girl with Brazilian Portuguese. She had some kind of cartoon that's from Brazil, and it went like wildfire through Brazil and had 9 million views.
She disappeared, I guess. The one she's yelling, "They're eating people," right? Is that the?
I don't know if it's that same woman, but it was definitely at the ranch. It was at Hell Ranch or Zorro Ranch, because you could see, and it was in a series of pictures that involved Elaine and Epstein and this person who was redacted. Clearly, like a younger teen kid or something like that, but that's what they were doing. Like, send me pictures. Some of these pictures are taken out, but like there was this selection process, just like Salo, and certain types. They didn't like black people, but they had, they wanted certain types of people.
And what about the selection of all the a-holes? Like they were judging the a-holes and made them bend over in the dark, and they were going around talking about, oh, we don't want to know if it's male or female. That might influence our decision of which one is the best. And
Wasn't there some statement of like one of the reports is that that's what Trump supposedly did to one of these girls, is he stuck his finger inside of her and said, you're young and whatever. Do you hear that one?
She was, yes,
Yeah.
I heard of that. Yeah. But he's a powerful guy. He can just grab him by the pussy. So
Right. It's all consistent, right? It's even more consistent now.
that face, that dude sitting down, he's got the creepiest face with the lazy eye.
Yeah,
dude.
lazy eye. In puberty's ambush, maidens bloom, all unaware of impending doom. So they had like poet references and stuff. Bourgeois recoil not from slaughter, though victim be son and daughter. So this whole theme, these themes of elite predation. There's the house or the castle. They had this is the lottery system.
Right. Yeah, they
The lottery. I waited 2 whole weeks to ambush, just that same theme you're talking about. This is that one thing I just mentioned.
I think
waited
that's
too long.
the one that gets married. He chooses that one to get, and that's the one that got married to him or whatever. I think that's the one, the guy with the mustache.
Here's the ex-prostitutes.
Right.
Pretty virgin. Oh, sorry, that's
Oop.
too much nudity.
Sorry.
There's a lot of nudity in this movie, by the way.
Yeah, but it's not porn. I don't know what people think. Like, people are like, oh, it's erotic theater. Oh, it's so porn. No, dude. No. If you can get excited watching this, there's something wrong.
It's the opposite. It's like annihilation, something weird.
Dude, it like hurts your soul to watch.
As far as the world goes, you are already dead. So they're all selected. And they have the fascist guys, like in some of the things, like the 4 guys in the back are like Alpine warriors of northern or Alpine military guys of Italy. Then the 2 guys are literal fascists, the 2 and 2 on the far right and left. And then there's the 10, 20 victims or whatever. 9 girls, 9 boys. And they're getting their instructions.
The one already all the way on the left, that's the one that is having sex with the black maid, and they run in on him, and as they're gonna shoot him, they're all pointing at him. He does the Nazi
fascist salute. Italian fascist.
Yeah. So he does that, and they all hesitate, and they're all like, "Oh," and then they shoot him. But I mean, it like hesitated. There was a little bit of like, "Oh," but then
they eat themselves. That's what happened to Mussolini. So after like the whole Italy collapsed, they took Mussolini and his mistress and tied him up and beat him to death like a piñata. There's pictures of it. It's really brutal. Like it's Salo levels of brutal. And there's weird
in the streets too, didn't they?
Yeah, really dark stuff. And there were also like partisans too who were anti-fascist. And there was a lot of like, it was almost like a low-level civil war after the war. Like they fought. There people were like, there's retributions and paybacks and pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. So the laws, this is, I think, well, this is probably one of the crucial scenes in the movie. So they have this rule book and the laws. And so this is like international order. This is a rule of law, right? In a certain way, this is the law that Desaad is talking about, right? The actual law, right? Not the false law, right? So it's almost like you live under these laws, but what are the actual laws that we're living under? Or at least, you know what I mean? Like you look at all the things that are going on. I mean, in the laws they have, you know what I mean? You can kidnap kids, you can do this, you can do that, you can poison people with food and water, on and on. You can, destroy people's minds through media manipulation. So you know what I mean? So this is like the real code book. You know what I mean? It's sort of occulted in normal society, so to speak. So it's quite interesting, right? This law, this is law, right? This is there, and this is like the laws we live under. But like Desaad says, there's these kind of fake laws, but the real laws are the laws of domination, power, cruelty.
Right. And by creating the law, they are the gods of this world, right? At this chateau or whatever.
They'll assemble in the hall of orgies, lie on the floor like animals, right? So that theme again. And these are the servants watching. They're not supposed to be watching. They shush them off like at a certain point. Slightest religious act by anyone will be punished, which is very interesting because later on they're all under this picture of the Virgin Mary. Like they're literally underneath the religious Christian iconography. And this is like the Temple of the Manias or something. That's the sequence, the breakdown of the film into those 4 parts. This is one. Interesting statement. Nothing is more contagious than evil. They're like philosophizing at this stage, talking a lot about literature and things like that at the intro and kind of justifying their things. This was interesting because of the Maltese cross there at the center. I wish I could read that Latin above it, but that kind of looks like 2 drums or something. I don't know. It's like a flag.
Yeah, they're drums. Yeah.
This is one of the things I mentioned at the very start. I mentioned about Sean, anarchists. We fascists are the true anarchists. Once we become masters of the state, true anarchy is that of power. So,
You know what, though?
Yeah.
In a certain way, are we not witnessing that right now?
Yeah.
Oh, it's fun.
yeah.
I just sank a civilian ship. Oh, that was fun.
Right.
This is fun.
That's true chaos, maybe, not anarchy.
Well, I mean, just that what it means is that they have not anarchy in your sense, Sean, but anarchy in the sense of they can do whatever they
No
want.
one
They
rules
have
them.
absolute
Yeah.
freedom to do whatever they want, say whatever they want, take any actions they want, and this is how they live. I mean, this is what literally, we're under this system to certain. I mean, well, more or less, right? I mean, we're witnessing that right now. I mean, this whole
Right.
thing we're experiencing, which again, people should be aware. This potentially we could go. We could literally be living in friggin' Mad Max land in about 2 years if this, you know what I mean? And that's anarchy, meaning there's no rules. They do
there's no
whatever they
question
want.
about it.
Right.
There's absolutely no question about it, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Master Blaster runs Bartertown.
Yeah. After
Sorry,
making
Sean.
me undress, he ordered me on all 4s like an animal. So it's this theme of furniture, it's a degradation, and humans like an animal. And she's like reckless. This is pedophilia stuff. Like it's not.
Yeah, she was like
depicted.
7 or something.
Yeah, so it's like Epstein stuff. And that's, I've said it a million times, but like the Epstein files show that these guys weren't like Lolita type. There's 5-year-old kids, 9-year-old kids. These aren't typos. There's like really young children involved.
Actually,
babies disappearing.
yeah.
Like they didn't even depict that in this. They weren't sick enough to go as far as Epstein.
But
network.
Lolita is actually 12. Like that's what the book is. She's actually 12, and she has no breasts.
So she's
no hips.
pre-pubescent.
Yes, right.
Here's like the depiction of the animals. I don't know why that slides there. I guess this is where we used to be, guys. We've got a long ways.
Good
to
old
go,
days.
America.
Yeah, that's why we had the whole 1960s hippie rebellion
Yeah,
to lead
get
us.
rid of
Right. That's
this.
why we had to kill Kennedy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I just want to get that point is that again not using again your sense of political anarchy, Sean. But in
Right.
the
Yeah,
sense
I'm
of
not
that,
offended or anything. It's keep
dude,
talking.
no, we're gonna have like a fight, dude. You're gonna drive down to Columbus. We'll be
Knock
out in the
down,
street.
drag out.
No, he's like, come on, man, let's do it. Drop it down.
No,
$50
man.
on Sean.
I
100
get what
on
you're
Hon.
saying though.
No.
Like they are, it's like do what thou wilt for them. Like
They have total freedom. There are no laws. There are no rules. It's only what they want. There's no limits to their power. There's no moral limit whatsoever.
right.
And we, this is what we are. This is what we're living under, literally, regrettably.
And if you're like a total atheist, then that's the case because there is no God to judge your bad deeds, and that's what Satanism really is, and it's at its core,
It's
and-
the predicate to so many misdeeds like communism. You have to kind of be an atheist.
right.
It's not a cult that involves a greater, being than yourself. It's us. We're the self, the self.
Right.
So it does have that overlap. People always have this flowery view of communism. It's not.
Oh, dude. I mean, communism was, just as an aside, I mean, communism was what? This is basically a cult agenda. Rabbi Moses Hess is the one who formulated this. He was a deep Lurianic Kabbalist, Kilafate. So this was, the whole thing was set up. And the fact is, of course, all the power goes to the party and the rules of the party. So, and the whole thing about surplus labor, I mean, if you can, make your way through the morass of Das Kapital without like having your brain fry, you realize it's fundamentally bullshit. It doesn't work. It will not work, but it works as it's intended. And it was actually intended to be the slave control matrix of planet Earth. It did not work out that way, but it certainly, we have a lot of tendencies of that, even though, there's a lot of, I mean, we have these words. I mean, socialism. I mean, it's not like, I think there should be some type of social network, some type of caring for people. Libraries, it's not just like socialism is bad, but the truth is communism is about violence, about control, about permanent revolution, about destroying culture, destroying everything. And then suddenly magically, the workers' paradise will just pop out of nowhere. Wow, it's great. And then you can't own anything.
It's the best
2 + 2
fantasy
is
story
5.
ever. Yeah. It's the best fantasy story ever. And it ties it right back into our talk last week at the end, cultural Marxism. And
it was funded by all the major bankers in the United States. And in Germany actually funded communism too. I mean, they helped transport money during the Bolshevik Revolution to destabilize the Soviets. But you look at some of the correspondence, and then we were getting news, completely censored news, right? And there was a few actual on the ground correspondents that were writing about all the bloodbaths and massacres and destruction. And these people got censored. Some of them, got basically destroyed. So it was a major thing.
We're getting censored news nowadays.
I have to struggle to find anything about the war. And then even that, it's like misinformation, AI stuff.
Yeah.
It's incredible environment. Like, whoa, we have no idea what's going on. I think there's thousands of dead American soldiers.
Right.
They're just telling six. It's worse than 1984. This is Pasolini with Gramsci. Gramsci's grave, I should say.
5 years in prison if you're in Israel and take a picture of what's going on.
Right.
And, but there's some video I've seen and just parts just flattened, absolutely bombed out. It's gonna get. We're looking the nuke, fly the nuke, man. Samson option. All right.
I think. Who's gonna be ordering that? Because baby's got 6 fingers and he's nowhere to be found.
Either
that's weird. Yeah, dude.
Bros, his son was tweeting constantly. Every day, 10 tweets a day, and nothing has been tweeted since March 8th. And one of the biggest tells is there's no person anywhere in the world, including Trump and in the United States, who says they're talking to Bibi or they're asking, in some kind of communication.
Yeah.
There's not one person.
This is the end.
They know.
This is the end of the Israel. It's done.
Yeah.
Israel's going to control the whole planet, according to
right.
Well,
certain sources.
I think that was. I mean, the real dream of the real Zionists, the core Zionists, the really hardcore right wing people is that Israel will be the center of the navel of the earth, and they will rule from there. So for them to start a war with Iran and get the U.S. involved takes out 2 birds with 1 stone. They take out Iran and the U.S. So they can just sit back and laugh the whole time. So I think that that's like the whole thing of getting involved in that is so dumb, is because they don't give a crap about the U.S. We're going in just like
Yeah.
or Edomites. They have this like 3,000-year-old view of like the spirit of Amalek or whatever, but they really believe in that stuff. I mean, you can see not Netanyahu talk like, so he'll talk in English to the goys, and then to his own people, it's like the spirit of Amalek and Purim, and these people in Aram. They represent. I mean, it's this very Christian view, like, and I think some of these people really believe it.
Yeah.
Well, but it also intersects with Freemasonry and Christian Zionism, which is insane. But I guess we're going off topic. So.
Well, it's
just gonna
just-
say
Maybe
that.
not. Actually, it's on topic.
It's
Because all
kind
this
of
is
on
happening.
topic because Epstein files are it. It's these people. Like they excised Netanyahu out of it. You know, like there's clear references to certain things where he's there, but they took him out. So when I see others degraded, that I rejoice. These are our political leaders.
That's sadism
like
right
it.
there.
Knowing it is better to be me than the scum of the people. It's literal dialogue.
Great Assad.
Whenever men are equal, without that difference, happiness cannot exist. As he's shoving the nails into the mashed potatoes or something.
It's
I don't
like
know what
doughy bread or something.
bread, okay.
Yeah. And then he makes one of the girls, he's like, you know, they were all acting like dogs at the time. And he calls her over and she's dutifully does what she's told. And she eats it and then screams and bleeds out of her mouth.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like so they're this philosophy while they're, you know, doing violence and stuff. Like, there's no sense of egalitarianism. As long as people are equal, happiness cannot. And that's really this. I mean, we literally live in a neo-feudal slave state. When you look at like the Epstein class or the Epstein network, all these rich guys parasiting off of these people, abusing them, raping them, casting them out, maybe even killing them, trading them, and then 60% of the country doesn't have more than $500 in the bank or something like that. They live check to check.
That's me.
But also, I mean, look at these.
I have to keep working. Like I don't have time to relax. I can't.
Right.
To cover my costs, I have to keep working.
Well, you should become a male erotic dancer.
I tried that.
It doesn't-
I really was. I was on OnlyFans.
Wear a cowboy hat.
I really was trying to hit that demographic of like the bear body, you know, like the third husband demographic, like not the handsome lifeguard, but like the guy who's home and cooks and cleans. And it just wasn't there, man. I really tried.
That's
I
a
tried to
niche
monetize
market.
that.
That's a niche market, very small market right there.
Ride that pony.
Get
on that pony and ride.
That's what I found out. The thing is, it's all talk. Women really don't want that. They say they do, but they don't. That's what I found.
Yeah.
It's all lies.
But,
And all the
They'll
talk-
always go after the skinny lifeguard.
And all the chats on OnlyFans is all like outsourced to like India and
Yeah, I heard it's like a
Dubai.
bunch of like Filipino women.
probably a bunch of dudes, man. You know,
yeah.
Dude, there was a story back in the day, like 15 years ago, where like they found out like this guy who was like chatting people up on sex talk was like an ex-Marine, like black guy. Have you ever heard that story?
Oh
He
no,
like got rebelled. So all these like dudes were like, they got this really attractive woman interested in me, and it's some like ex-Marine black guy with
well, they've done sting
That happens all the
operations
time.
where people have been stung. I won't mention any names, but you know where they think they're talking to some 12-year-old, 9-year-old, 15-year-old girl, and it's some fat dude sitting in a office working for the FBI. And the whole thing is just fake. But just to say, I mean, the Epstein quote unquote class, it's not okay. We have the economic system, but we have also the education system, this whole top to bottom. We have the injection system, the vaccine system. We have look at, for example, you don't think they know the effect that you putting screens in front of little kids does? You know what I mean? You can't develop language skills, right? I mean, there's an old anecdote in the U.S. where this woman like left her daughter at home with the TV on and she couldn't speak. She lost her ability for language, and then it took years to get her retrained to speak. These things are being done. These are being promoted, and all this stuff. I mean, it just goes on and on, but these people are sitting on top of it, right? And then how about the whole global control grid AI surveillance state? Because you, as a dutiful slave, must be watched at all times, and you are not allowed even to think anymore. No, we want to.
Panopticon.
You want to put it in your brain, right? So you can everything you do. Oh, you know what? You farted. Sorry, Bill Gates has just taken all your cryptocurrency. I mean, that's a patent. They put that out. Now, it's going to work. Who knows? But this is their thinking, and this is in this film we see exactly what probably they actually do in reality. But this is their mentality, top to bottom.
100%.
Yeah,
Did
well
you
said.
know that he like tried to like infiltrate into video games? Did we cover that? I don't remember. But like he was literally
Oh.
trying to like pervert people and like debase them through video games, kids, where they would overly sexualize it. Like he was talking about that. Like we'll own them forever. Once we
Huh.
show them nudity, the 12-year-old boys, then we can just
That's
get all their
happening.
money.
They have nudity in video games now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
It's like a porn thing.
So there is kind of a ritual element to this. I wouldn't say this guy's literally the king in yellow, but he's got the kind of horns and mirrors and
So the canted square, like the what's the name of that? Enron had the canted E. It's like on its corner. That is satanic symbol.
interesting.
Yeah. And it's right there on his chakra, right in the middle there. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, Hans. But the square mirrors, it's like the squares are very not positive. And I
I
don't know
count
what
them. It's a 77, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh yeah.
I
Wow.
don't know. You don't know how much he knew. But there are kind of strange numbers. Like there's like little riffs at the beginning. I don't know if you caught that, but like he's like 8, half of 8 is 44, and 44 is 2, and they're breaking it down kind of in a numerology thing at the intro.
Joke
first
thinks
half hour.
6 times 8 is 48 or whatever. I didn't even see why they were laughing at it, but yeah, there was some.
Oh, the
numbers.
joke, right? Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
This is the
Whoops.
fascist guy. Sorry. References to the Bible. Lord, why hast thou forsaken us? Screaming it out.
That's right there is what like Desaad is talking about. Hey, F your God. There is no God. Obviously, there's no God. Look, they even said that to the girls. They were like, they're mad at them for, even trying to bring up the name of God. Like how you're foolish for thinking God is going to save you, stupid idiot. Like, this is our world now. You're our slave.
And then she's like, this reminded me of the sequence from A Clockwork Orange, because this woman's like, she suddenly turns to German. And then like, we could recommend murdering as many. This is before the Circle of Blood. Recommend murdering as many as possible, like just total murder. I just thought this was interesting because this is the art you were talking about, the degenerate art. There's so much art in this. And then this kind of like mask here.
We didn't say that
Statue.
on the air though. If you wanted the people
Oh,
to hear
okay.
that.
Well,
oh,
go ahead.
All right. The art in the chateau is degenerate art that was Hitler said it was bad and cleaned it out of the country of Germany. And I'm not sure if Italy did the same, but that's what's hanging in this house is all of this filth. I guess, if you consider it that. I don't know if I said it in a way.
I think
that's
you're right,
proper.
but it's kind of like was it Impressionism or Cubism or something?
There was a bunch. There's all kinds. You can look it up.
And then at the end, it's in E Primo Vere in Springtime. Karl Orff's famous cantata plays at the very end as they're like torturing people to death, and they're like laughing, like having a good time, and they do this like little kick dance, like choreographed.
The can.
Yeah,
Wasn't that what they had that in Weimar? They were doing that, right? And
and it's like that. It's like an end of a civilization. That's like the end of Salo. And apparently, as the World War II ended, like there was a complete loss of all morality and law. So as the Germans knew that the Russians were coming, they were going to get butchered and everybody was going to get raped. And it was like Sodom and Gomorrah, apparently, like in Berlin, even before the Russians got in there, because people are like, it's over. Like we can hear the artillery, and people just the things we assume we have to maintain civilization. Once the people knew, there's a very strange effect. Once they knew that civilization was going to end, it was like we can just take people up and string them up on ropes. We can kill people, and that's what happened. There were these weird fights among different people, and people got shot because there was nobody to enforce anything. It's really a strange truth. It's one of the weirdest things that's happened in modern history. Is like they were obviously savages and had a lot of these ideas, but like there was a total breakdown of law and order in Berlin, something like Salem.
Yeah, I'll just say there's a book called Hellstorm documentary. Now it's now listed. The AI told me it's neo-Nazi propaganda, but it's not. It documents what happened. The Russians, where they were invaded, they were told they brought in these kind of like Mongol hordes, basically. They were told rape women. They were encouraged to rape and murder, and then you have the Eisenhower death camps where they just left millions of people just to starve to death in the open air. So there was mass slaughter in Germany. More people died after the war than during the war. It's an absolute disgrace. What was it, Kaganovich or whatever? It was just one of the, so,
They killed 25 million Russians. So I don't think they were coming in with a real, bread and wine and flowers and stuff. They were pissed. And you're right, that they requisitioned all those people from Central Asia to come in. So Mongols and, Kyrgyzstan and all kinds of people were really the front warriors going into Berlin were not Russians. There weren't any left. There weren't ethnic Russians.
I interviewed a long time ago an ex-military gentleman named Kaiser, and he spoke about like when he was sent in to destabilize countries and roll in the tanks and do all this. He said that they didn't have to wear their helmets for 2 weeks because all the natives were busy shooting at each other. They were getting out all their aggressions on. They were like, "Oh, this is my neighbor. I hate my neighbor." You know what I mean? Like it's chaos, and nobody's shooting at the invading Americans. They're all shooting at each other for 2 weeks. And
I think Saxon Ranger mentioned the Morgenthau plan. So that was this plan done, I believe it was Secretary of Treasury. It was literally it was a complete genocide. So just literally starve out and destroy it. So it was too extreme, actually. Finally, they had to back off of it. But it was a literal plan of genocide, of wiping out the entire German nation through starvation and deindustrialization. But again, both sides of the coin, man. You're working both sides of the street. You get your agenda, using your game theory model. So it doesn't matter, use Iran to destroy the United States and then use Trump to generate that to destroy the world economy. Oh, great. We got a great reset. All right. I mean, hopefully not. I don't know if that's the extent of the planning, but I mean, yeah, we have to acknowledge some of this brutality. I mean, I just recommend everybody look into that era because it's absolutely disgusting. I mean, in America, particular groups of people in America were central to that, special people, we could say. So, you know what I mean.
I think we're in real trouble because, I know how if you think of like the Germans, they probably never ever thought they'd be bombed to smithereens or the Russians would be at their door and they'd be partitioned into 4 parts. But like, that's what spiraled out of control, like the invasion of Russia and this whole thing with Iran. Something could happen like that. If the gas gets too expensive and people are already on the precipice, like you're literally just pushing off 10 million people into extreme poverty. Well, they don't have anything to lose. Like you're in a different mind. We go all the way back to Desaad and the French Revolution. They didn't have anything to lose, And next thing you know, these people are getting freaking guillotined and stuff. And then there's Napoleon. Like, I want to have law and order. Same thing happened after Versailles, right? All the money goes and there's huge inflation and they're like, well, this is a mess. We need something. And Hitler's like, I'm your guy. And
but there, and you get different agendas, right? I mean, World War One was what? Destroy the Ottoman Empire. Okay. And so these, what I'm saying is these are, you look at them as chessboards. Okay. I want to, Billy and Bubba, I want to take both of their lunch boxes. So I'm going to have Billy and Bubba make them fight each other. Then they're both beaten up. I'll go take the lunchbox, and maybe Bubba survives, and I'll get Bubba to fight with my other enemy and
That's
act
what
like, and that's so you create these environments. You create these situational things, and it's very on a meta level, you can see. And the problem is we have this black and white dichotomy, good and evil. Well, in fact, these are different things. And you're right, one that's very astute is the invasion, this attack on Iran is very similar to the invasion of Russia. And I mean, it's like, and it's a war. It cannot be won, period. You cannot win it. It's impossible. And all you're doing is just destroying the America. You're destroying entire power base. You're destroying the petrodollar. You're causing mass starvation. You're removing all of America's allies are gone. You just took all the friggin' weapons from South Korea and sent them to Israel. So South Korea's like, F off. You never cared about us. We're not going to help you. And you've just shown the paper tiger. Yeah, we can kill and destroy, but we don't have 3 million trained troops. We will just get cut. We'll be cut to ribbons in a ground invasion. But he's pushing ahead. I feel passionately about this kind of because I'll swear, he's a fucking moron, and he should be locked. He should be in a fucking circus show. He shouldn't be running the country. I mean, he shouldn't. You know what I mean? He's like a clown. He's a retarded clown, a fat retarded clown. Sorry.
So, but this is the same thing that England has been doing. Like England's been sitting back trying to break America since the beginning. The first Civil War was kind of they were making it happen, the 1812, right now England is sitting back and they're like the guy in the yellow jacket behind the tree, that meme, like wringing his hands, like they're just waiting for America to crack open. And Israel is one of their projects, working with the Rothschilds. And the King of England has that same Maltese cross on the top of his crown, the one that was on the wall there in the villa. So I think this is the plan. They use America to defeat the first two wars and then use the third war to defeat America. And then they can have their new world order, right?
It goes back to Albert Pike, right? That quote that's been around to
Right.
Giuseppe Mazzini or whatever. When actually interesting, the Masons had, or the high level Masons had a very early version of the telegraph, so they could communicate overseas. People didn't know about it. It was like magic. Oh, we know, you know what I mean? But that was Albert Pike talking about some people say this is spurious, the letter, but talking about the Third World War will be. He mentions World War One. This is in 18, right after the Civil War. Mentions World War One, World War Two, then World War Three. Muslims versus Christianity. And then you have, the troops being told, well, you're going to bring in Armageddon. And I mean,
Yeah.
this is, I can't believe we're in the 2026. I mean, it's like we're back in the friggin' Stone Age. I mean, people in the Stone Age had more manners. Seriously, we're like at Carthage, or something. I mean, we're in a time of barbarism again, regrettably.
We're definitely burning our children at the fucking Moloch,
Yeah, this is great. I mean, I think just to kind of come back full circle, Salo is important. I think Pasolini was before his time. I think he looked into the darker parts of the thing. And that I think the finish is actually really incredible, like prescient, because like these guys go through it all and it's like, let's dance and blow it off. There's no like moral, like bookend, like, okay, let's fix this. These bad guys are bad. Let's go shoot. There's no happy ending, like Hollywood ending, like the bad guys get it at the end. It's that everybody's dancing and it's over. Like it's off the charts. Like it's just left open, So I'm done too. That's my presentation.
This was supposed to be the first of 3 movies. Did you know that?
No.
He did the trilogy of life, which was like 3. I could look them up. There are 3 movies that are about like youthful sex and just the love of sex and the love of being young and having a body or whatever, just loving life, and it's just like a beautiful whatever. And he decided he made this movie because he was like, that's not really how life is. And he felt like he did a disservice by making those movies, and he decided to make, okay, I did a trilogy of life, now I'm going to do a trilogy of death. And this was number one. And they murdered him before they even released it. And they stole some of his footage. They took away some of the torture stuff. It's gone. Some of those scenes were only captured on still camera by a photographer who was there, like walking around for a magazine taking a picture. So that even though it ended abruptly like that, it was supposed to start a whole series that is going to be, and whoever murdered him or had him murdered, they wanted to shut him up, I think.
Yeah, it's really something else.
Well,
It's a hard movie to get through. Like you said earlier,
Absolutely.
where you said to me you turned it off and turned it back on. I did the same thing. I was like, okay, I'll go walk around for a little bit.
I had
come
to
back
take
and pick it up.
days. I had to take a day or two off, and then like I would stop, and then the images are still in my head for the rest of the day. I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? And then I have to go back to it. Oh God, I have to push play again, and it was really hard.
Let me ask you guys this question. What do you think Pasolini's take is? Do you think this is too much? Do you think he's trying to accurately depict something? Do you think that Desaad's kind of worldview is still relevant to understand? Like what's your after looking through and researching this, what's your kind of overview of the film and Pasolini?
Well, one thing just about the music, say like in the beginning, the long title credits, you have no idea what you're getting into, right? I mean, you could be watching, a film about people ice skating or puppies. And by the way, I wish I could edit out. I'm sorry, my insulting language there. Just pretend it didn't happen. If they show up at my door, the black helicopters come. It's all right. But no,
You're
but
the canary in the coal mine, so we'll know it's you first.
dude, I've been warned actually. Just like don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. And I just did.
Trump is doing it, man. He's saying that if somebody like is posting stuff about the war, that's not right. They're considering it treason. I think that he said something like that.
Yeah. I know that. But anyways, I wasn't
AI
talking.
is going to get all of us anyway.
I was talking about someone else who's just happens to be a circus clown gone wrong. But anyways, so the film, just from the music, but what you see is also, in a sense, the veneer of civilization, high culture, or even, you have classical music, they're singing songs when they come in to recite their, degraded stories in the room of orgies. There's always music, they sing, and the one thing is interesting, the lady who's the piano player, she commits suicide at the end. She jumps out the window. So the music, I mean, I think it shows that in essentially 121 Days of Sodom is the model or template for at least for he's probably for the ruling elite of the world, right? So this is exactly what they do, and in fact, it's all just fun and games. And the fact is that the products of high culture, right? Even the girl who's murdered in front of the raped and murdered, and they put her body in front of the alcove with the Virgin Mary. So all these aspects are, again, according to, Desaad, like that's the false civilization. Once you obtain power, you don't need to abide by those rules, even though you're going to keep up the artifice, the appearance of quote unquote rules based order. Right. So I think it's very telling, and it's, even though it's extremely, I don't want to watch it again. Don't make me watch it again. But it shows in a very visceral way what they think, what they do, and the level of degradation. And then that's what they're doing, man. They're just, you have one level of pleasure, you got to keep amping it up, and then you get pleasure from causing others suffering and turning people into your slaves, and it just keeps going. And at the same time, you're deciding the fate of the world, or attempting to. So I think it's quite realistic and a very chilling indictment of the modern world.
I saw an interview of Pasolini talking about what he thought it was about, and he was talking about how the ruling class destroys the youthful body, with war and with the society, and how they dominate and destroy it. Um, like the one thing that we have that we own is our body, and they take it and they turn it into filth. But I agree with what Hans was saying. I think this is much like Eyes Wide Shut. It's a revealing of what is actually happening. Um, it's brutal because it has to be, you know. And when we read the Epstein files, we get the same feeling in our stomach that we did when we watched this. It's the same, and it's the same people, and it's the same mentality. That is the enemy. These people that see us all as slaves, that they can do whatever they want. Um, so it's a revealing of the kakistocracy. And just like Epstein Files is a revealing on the news of the kakistocracy, this is just an artful form, of showing us the truth. And if you notice, these young boys, they have rifles. They can turn and shoot those guys at any time, but they don't. They just dance. Some of them participate in the rape and whatever. They laugh. They're like child soldiers. Is a thing. I think, like, getting to the kids before they're fully adults, to change them in their morality, is important. I think that's part of the domination of the culture. They need to have the cops, to the enforcers out there that fully believe and agree with it and will, do what they're told. Yeah, they dominate them too, and I wanted to make sure to mention that it is the satanic inversion, and that's why it's so disgusting, because our natural senses are tuned properly, and these people are so opposite. Um, they're totally the opposite, and they'd fit right in with the Jacob Frank people and the Sabotage Zebi people. Um, and they got to positions of power to destroy society, and this is how they think of people, their mentation. Um, and I also wanted to relate the satanic ritual abuse is very similar to everything that we see with the humiliation and the eating of shit and the marriage of children that are unwilling. And then they make them cross dress into different like they made the groom wear the bride's dress and then made him eat shit. And um, it's, it is, even if they didn't believe in Satan, these things are satanic. Like, they're literally anti-human, anti all order of nature, like the real order. Shit is excrement. It is not food. Like, it's the everything they do is opposite, and that's what makes them happy. So, like, if people want to understand Epstein class, this is also the generational Satanists do this type of thing, and they have this type of wealth, and they surround themselves in these ornate places, and they own children and their bodies and do what they will. If you don't want to hear those stories either, it's just as bad as watching this movie. It is horrific. If you love humans, then it hurts your heart to listen and watch. But it's important to take a bite of the black pill sandwich. Like, we need to see what's really happening to actually know. We need to actually read the Epstein files. We need to know that they're stealing babies that are, we need to know that they're eating jerky. We need to know what jerky is. Like, we need to actually fathom that, because people can't fathom when they read the Epstein. No, nobody's like that. Nobody does that. But then you watch this movie and like, wow, how could they do that? And you watch them smile as they're doing it. It's like, like, the dude's got poop on his lips and he's kissing this young boy who's dressed in a bride outfit, and he's like, the poor kid is like, I mean, just, oh my god, it's next level psychopathy. And that's really what bubbles to the top of this satanic ruling society that we have. So that's how I want to end it, I guess.
Yeah, it's bad.
We don't
Think-
have to
I mean,
end it. I got plenty of time, but
I don't have anything else to cover. I mean, unless you guys want to, I don't know. I mean, this was kind of the topic for the night, but the what's really scary is, like, under the Biden regime, there were hundreds of thousands of kids being trafficked through and spread around the United States. So, like, this kind of stuff may be under reporting, like Salo looks at it as a small event with only 20 people. Imagine that some of these other rich families who have really no care for another human being, just trafficking kids, and like these guys are just going on with their daily lives, and some of those kids, who knows where they are? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Apparently there's places, I've heard about places where if sadists want to give up having a life anymore and live underground, they can pay money to go live underground and kill people all the time. And they'll just bring new people, but you have to give up being above ground because you'll get caught and you'll, like, it's
Here in LA, they're not enforcing like prostitution laws, and there are literal kids like on the streets, like 13, 14, 15-year-olds in certain parts of central LA. Like, it's devolved,
And-
like, in a way you just couldn't even believe it. Like, I don't know how people are tolerant of this crap, but it's unbelievable.
if you hear the interviews of pimps that work on Figueroa, if any of those girls aren't owned by a pimp, they get put in a dog cage and they get fed dog food
There you go.
and whipped
Salo.
and beaten. Right.
Makes perfect sense.
Right, because that's how you break them down. It's like a system. Like, all our brains are built the same way, and we have to be humiliated, and we have to, just like the light stuff that we get in elementary school, like what Hans was talking about with the ILAC, that thing that, and you pull apart pieces of this thing on your heart chakra, it's like the little things that they do, but I mean, it's still like a humiliation, breaking down. You are filth, you don't deserve, and this is just like the extreme end of that same sentiment.
Yeah, just the Biden thing. I mean, there were, hundreds of thousands of kids, and there are all these networks set up, NGOs. They had, they would go to these special centers and it'd be shipped off here and there. I mean, there was a whole industry of trafficking these kids, and lots and lots and lots. We have no idea how many.
They
And
lost them too. They lost many of them.
Well, quote unquote, lost because they had these organizations. I mean, they were set up, they had
Right.
offices, and they would just rush them through. And then, some people investigated that and they got in trouble. But yeah, this, essentially, I think this could be really rampant. It must be really rampant. How do you, what do you, it's not just like 10 people. It's thousands probably. And unless they just have, they mentioned, some of these people, in the movie with their appetites for multiple kids, 14 girls, and they talked about killing their mothers. Remember? They
Yes.
said it was like the best decision, to kill your mother, and that's also like Desaad. I could read more Desaad. I don't know if you want me to, but I mean that's also a pleasure. Committing murder, because it's you getting all of the. And he said that was one of the greatest pleasures I ever had, was murdering my own mother. The Duke says that.
Right.
And this is, and they say, what is the mother? Oh, she had an act of pleasure. She deserves, with the father, right? She deserves nothing else. That's all she was good for. Her purpose is served. It's almost a duty to kill your own mother. And this is I mean, but that's again the level of this, because once you pull the stops out, but the other side, what I mentioned is that there's no, see, once you enter sort of these gates of hell, you're never good. You always have to keep questing for more and more sensation, more and more, you know what I mean? You're not going to get the same high, right? You got to do more. You got to push. You have to, you have to control every single human being. You have to insert microchips in their brain. All this stuff, AI control grid. It's all, these are the people that are doing it, man. And it's because it makes their lives easier. And and it's a cult of egotism, sensation. And again, they consider it natural. This is nature. I'm the superior being. It is in the law of nature for me to enslave you or whatever.
Superior beings that like to eat shit. I don't think that follows. It doesn't make logical sense. Sorry.
It's true. I mean, the thing is, these guys, the Epstein thing shows these guys are kinked out. They're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. They have, like, we did that one show where they have farm animals and stuff. Like, are they bestiality? Like, and on that site, there's like the specialized gate and an incinerator. Local cop who'd been on that beat for like 15, 20 years says, I think there's an incinerator at Zorro Ranch. Why? Why do you need an incinerator? And bodies are buried in clearly that Zorro Ranch, it was dug up and reformatted before the recent investigation started.
Oh, because I heard that they were trying to investigate and dig up the ground.
Yeah,
and
but
look
it
for those
was
bodies.
pre-dug up. I can tell because there was this huge circular, like,
They moved the bodies already.
yeah, that thing was already pre-dug before, much like the island had happened to that temple. They took down the dome, or like things been tampered with already.
We even saw that in Goodfellas, the Scorsese movie. Like, oh, I got to move the body, and like they in the middle of the night they have to, because they sold the land, and like they had to go dig up some body, and they borrowed a knife from mom to like hack off the. Oh, we got a hoof there. We hit a deer, and we got a. So like it was. I mean, that's common knowledge. Like, of course, that sometimes they have to move evidence of.
Right. I mean, once he gets indicted, he orders 6 55-gallon drums of freaking hydrochloric acid. Like, whoa.
Right.
Like, I mean, what a coincidence. Oh, I just need to clean my pool system now. I'm about to get indicted. It just made me remember I had to clean out the freaking pipes here. It's exactly what I'd be thinking of. It's a joke. I can't even joke.
Yeah. You got to be afraid when he says he needs to clean his pipes. You run.
I think Quaaludes should come back. No, I don't even know what they do, but I'd probably be more, because I'm pretty irritated by the level of degradation that's happened to our country, man.
Yeah. It's happened in one generation.
Dude, it's like, I mean, this is really, I mean, it's bad news, man, potentially. Hopefully not, man. I'm not a naysayer. Like, I hope, but anyways, do you want to just get one last little taste of Desaad?
Sure, and then
Yeah,
wrap it up.
we'll call it
brains.
Or maybe not.
No, do it. It's
okay, so this is from Justine. Must sensual pleasure render a man better than life's other pleasures? In one word, must our penchants be any more concentrated upon the temple of generation? Must it necessarily most certainly awaken our desires than some other part of the body, either the most contrary or at the furthest remove from it, that some emanation of the body, either the most fetid or the most disgusting? It should not, in my opinion, appear any more astonishingly so to see a man introduce singularity into his libertine pleasures than it should appear strange to see him employ the uncommon in any other of life's activities. Once again, it is in either case, his singularity is the result of his organs. Is it his fault if what affects you is not to him, or if he is only moved by what repels you? What living man would not instantly revise his tastes, his affections, his penchants, and bring them into harmony with the general scheme? What man, rather than continue a freak, would not prefer to be like everyone else, were it in his power to do so? It is the most barbarous and most stupid intolerance to wish to fly at such a man's throat. He is no more guilty towards society, regardless of what may be his extravagances, than is, as I have just said, the person who came in blind and lame into the world. And it would be quite as unjust to punish or deride the latter as to affect or berate the other. The man endowed with uncommon taste is sick, if you prefer. He is like a woman subject to hysterical vapors. Has the idea to punish such a person ever occurred to us? Let us be equally fair when dealing with a man whose caprices startle us, perfectly like unto the ill man or woman suffering from vapors. He is deserving of sympathy and not of blame. That is a moral apology for the persons we are discussing. Okay, and he goes on and on. But basically he's talking about blood, limits of fibers. Let's see. Oh, you pedants, hangman, turnkeys, lawmakers, you shave pate rabble, what will you do when we have arrived there? What is to become of your laws, your ethics, your religion, your gallows, your gods, and your heavens and your hell, when it shall be proven that such a flow of liquids, this variety of fibers, this degree of pugnancy in the blood or in the animal spirits are sufficient to make a man the object of your givings and taking away? Okay, but it goes, so he's talking about, basically, he's talking about different things of the body. He's talking about what cropophilia and this also, pungent discharges of the body. He's talking about basically anything, including murder and torture, and saying this is justified. It's in the man's nature. There's nothing wrong with that. If a woman is hysterical, I'm hysterical. That's the same as some guy, he's talking about literally, I mean, raping, abusing, and up to the point of murder, for satisfaction and pleasure, and we should excuse that because that's
just like pedophile's not such a bad person. He's a map. He's just attracted. We should feel bad for them, right? Kind of what the society's doing now, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
You had another
You're
sentence
absolutely
going.
right.
I'm sorry, Hans. Dude, I'm sorry.
Dude, no, I was done. I'm done.
Okay. I felt that.
I've timed out. I can hear the black helicopters circling.
Yeah, I know.
I criticized the
Knock
war.
on
They're
the
taking
door.
me away, man. I'm gonna fight. It's gonna be like Waco 2.0.
Oh,
Dude,
dude.
apparently the polling support for Trump is
Get
like
your guns.
28%. And I'm like, who are those 28% of people?
How
Like,
is that possible?
how is 28% even possible? I
Gotta
don't
be
even think that's
bots.
right.
It's bots.
Like, whoa, how are you not reading the news or what? Where do you get your information? It has to be from the mass media.
There's
Like, I don't know how you could have 28%. The guy didn't do anything he said he ran on. Like, he didn't do anything. He immediately started to cover up the Epstein files. They started redacting in March of 2025. They just slow rolled it as long as they could, and like the Congress is like, okay, well, you're slow rolling it, release it. It must be bad. It was freaking terrible. And then he went to war against Iran. Like, don't do it. It's just
Did they
totally crazy?
Did whatever happened to the Pfizer rollout of that paperwork and all that stuff?
I don't know. There's a
Like,
big
everybody forgot about
warp
that.
speed.
Right,
Hey,
yeah,
Captain Kirk.
They were trying to slow
Warp
that, make it
speed.
like 75 years till we got all the papers, and then we
No,
weren't
there's
getting
a
all the
huge
papers,
court
and-
case right now in the Netherlands or something that they're going in it. They're actually saying it's a bioweapon. Like, they're using the term. They're not even using the V term anymore.
Bioweapon blues, man.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
45. I did 45 episodes on that.
Right.
Oh yeah. Well, again, these are the people that brought you various types of technology, human genomic editing. Let's just play around with the human DNA. It's not good enough. Let's just add some stuff so we can. But
Totally out of their freaking minds. Like, have you ever seen that interview with Plotkin where he just like he's a atheistic Jew and he's just like doesn't even care. You have to see this whole culture change that's happened in the culture and the rise of the malevolent shot schedule at the same time. Like, these are the type of people. They don't care if you get poisoned. They don't care if your family's miserable. They don't even have normal human empathy.
no,
It's
they
that
actually,
bad.
I think they feed off of it. They enjoy it.
Right. It's like the Salo mentality. I think you're right.
Yeah, but I just
They know it. They just lie. They know they can't get caught. and they know they can outwit people and scam them, just like Epstein. Really, I mean, one of the incredible elements of the Epstein file story is how he got away with it for so long. How many manipulations, how many cover-ups. Like Comey's covering it up. It seems like Trump fired the original arrestee, Joffrey Berman, like in 2020. Like he really wanted him gone. And that's why those files that popped up, people were like, "What? You had files on co-conspirators and other like businesses that were involved in this stuff?" Like people never saw that because it was all NDA or was in the government there in the Southern District in New York. Like, whoa, you really were trying to find other people. Like it never. I don't think that was public information. There were actually some articles that I saw recently about like they're going after other co-conspirators and all that stuff got squelched. How did all this stuff get about Epstein get squelched over time? It's going to be huge because Trump tried to squelch it during this administration. So, I mean, that shouldn't tell you everything. It's like, why is there 25% support of this guy? This has to be taken out of our society. It's really that bad. Like, it won't survive with this kind of criminality and evil.
You can just send
It's
him over there.
just crime
You
after
got to
crime
trust
after
the
crime
plan,
after crime.
William. What do you mean? You got
I
to
know.
trust the
I
plan.
hold my breath.
Yeah.
I'm crossing my
Yeah.
fingers. I've always believed in Q, guys. I really have. I knew it was truth from the beginning, and all these vague statements and stuff that I was deciphering, it really was just like on point. Like I knew there was somebody deep inside the government with my interest who couldn't be caught or couldn't be filtered out. That was always just, leading me on by the
those.
nose. I just
Those
always
white
knew
hats.
it.
They're gonna
Yeah.
put all those.
The
pedos
white
in
hats
jail.
are there.
They're gonna put all the pedos.
Yeah,
in
they
jail.
put all the
Just wait.
pedos in jail. We already have seen them in jail, right?
Right.
We already see the prosecutions, and they're keeping us out of war, and they're closing the borders and getting rid of criminals. What's happening? Like, trust the plan. Like JFK Jr. is about to show up over at Dealey Plaza. Like I've been camped out there for like the last 3 months. Waiting
They're
for
gonna put it on
him to appear.
TV too. They're gonna put it on TV. For
Yeah,
everybody to watch.
absolutely. It's going to be a miracle. He was sitting behind Trump, JFK Jr. was behind Trump at one of those rallies. So I know that was kind of like my Q tell, where I knew Q was truth, like beyond gospel truth, was when I saw JFK Jr. behind Trump. Guys,
Yeah, he
let's
was
wrap
doing the
this up. Hey, we have
Macarena.
462 live viewers. Thanks everybody for listening and participating
Yep.
and commenting. And Salo, don't watch it unless you really like ramped up your psychological, defenses, because it's pretty rough. But I do think that Pasolini was on point. I really don't think he was exaggerating. And I think some of these things really do happen. If you look at like Oak Island or whatever that place was in North Michigan where people went to, the Brotherhood of Death has its own island up there, by the way, which is the Skull and Bones. So these people get those islands so they can do crazy stuff like this, or bring in prostitutes or traffic people. And it goes all the way back to like Brussels, Dutroux. There's just so many things. The Bunga Bunga parties in Italy, which is not very far from like Salo, which involved the prime minister whose name I see his face. I can't remember his name now. Somebody in the chat probably knows, but those people died at those parties too. He was a member of Propaganda Due.
Right.
But
and he was
I think this
too.
film is relevant.
I'm sorry, but he was on TV as well. He was like, just like Trump was, had a TV show before he was elected.
Yeah, he's a Trump figure.
How about that?
Berlusconi, thank you, Deb. Thank you.
Berlusconi,
He was actually, what he was able to do. This is like, people are like, oh, you're so paranoid, or you're a conspiracy. Berlusconi had connections within the Propaganda Due Lodge that I think is in Genoa. So it's a high level Masonic lodge, and through his connections, I can't remember which bank, but he was able to get loans underneath even the wholesale rate. So not the public rate or the wholesale rate, but through his P2 connections, he could get really low-end loans and outbid anybody for properties or assets within Italy. And what he did is he bought all the media prop stuff, and they just propagandized his propaganda all the time. It's Berlusconi. So like they just gamed the system. And there's actually a really good book I read a while ago about how he did that. It's called The Fall of Rome. And the fall is him taking over, kind of like a new Mussolini. And he was kind of like a Mussolini figure, very degenerate, and girls died, and bunga bunga parties, 2 wives, children all over the place, friends with Bill Clinton. He's probably in the freaking Epstein files. But Berlusconi was really something else.
Oh, okay, just one last thing, just to throw it out there. Have you guys checked out the Ingersoll Lockwood's books, 1890 novel
Yeah.
Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey in 1900 and the
Yeah.
Last President? That's some weird. That's pretty. I don't know.
I did a show with on that with
Okay, what's your opinion on that? I
with
don't know.
Todd Wood. It's just strange
It's
strange
weird.
synchronicity.
It's from
Did you
Q.
see the Epstein guy who wrote a thing about Trumperstan or whatever? Like one of the Epstein relatives wrote some strange book about some kind of like charismatic figure named Trumperstan or something.
Did you know
Epstein
that
guy.
Trump released a book in 2001 called The Future We Deserve? And he talks about how bin Laden is going to do a terrorist attack. You know that? It was released before
Nuts.
the tower attacks, like the
No.
same year. Yeah, that's true. Like, and they called him on 9/11. That Fox News had that segment. I got it downloaded where they said, you know, oh yeah, what would you do if you were president? He was like, I'd be flying F-16s. It was always the plan. This was always the plan, you guys.
What was
Yeah.
getting Trump into office
Yeah, to
and blowing up the world?
to destroy America. Yeah, to take apart
Yeah.
America. The tower to destroy all of the old world order, you know. And he's doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely in the New World Order, guys. No question
The
about
devil's Trump, right? They talk about the devil's Trump bringing in the apocalypse, right?
Right.
Even in I have the book, The Witch Cult of Western Europe. They talk also about the devil's trump. So, I mean, of course, that refers to a trumpet, but anyways, the devil's trump.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a trumpet is what takes down the tower. The
Yep.
blare, the trumpet blast of Gabriel or something takes down the tower, and that's what. I mean, they probably put him there because of his name. You know, like
it. Yeah, probably. Who knows?
All
There's
right.
a really good book about the occult kind of stuff about 9/11. It's called Prophet of Evil, Aleister Crowley, 9/11 and the New World Order. People can check it out. It's
yeah,
on
that guy's.
Amazon.
I heard about that writer. He's pretty good. He's wrote a couple
Yeah,
books.
he's written a couple decent research books.
yeah.
They're a bit noited, maybe not for the retail reader,
Yeah.
but it does kind of tie in. If Bush is eating freaking cream cheese and these things, like that book is really about George Bush Sr. I couldn't title it about George Bush Sr. at the time, but if you get to the final chapter, it's kind of like the purloined letter where you put things at the back of a book, it'll be hidden forever. But it's really, if you get to the last 2 chapters of Prophet of Evil, it's all Bush. It's all Bush and his son.
Poppy Bush with the Bush
Poppy.
babies and what he did to those babies.
In the famous speech on September 11th, 1990, 11 years to the date of
Right.
9/11.
And the 1,000 points of light he talked about. That's the mother
Rainbow
of darkness
Bridge.
castle, right?
We're
Yeah.
crossing the bridge, the Pontifex Rex.
They go on the law of the jungle. He talked about
Yeah,
that
that's
speech.
right.
Yeah,
The rule of law, not the rule of the jungle.
yeah,
Our 5th objective, a new world order.
yeah.
We won. You guys,
Yeah.
we won. We won again. We just
For
won for the
ourselves
third
and the
time.
Future generations. He's talking to the people there. Like that's like the inside ball game.
Right.
But that's the Salo ball game. It's like you don't give a F about the hoi polloi. We don't give up to these Slavs, these slaves. We just care about you and us and our future generations. We're gonna perpetuate that forever, which is really the intro of Salo, right? That's what he says in this going back. I mean, it's probably a good way to kind of end it, is that they are trying to rig the system for themselves. That's what he says. That's why they sign off, and they're gonna do their kids.
And the
Marrying each
Nazis
other's daughters
didn't
will
really
seal our
lose.
destinies forever.
Right.
Forever.
And like the Nazis had the rat lines with the P2 and with America and all that. So like they didn't really lose. I mean, we had the Nuremberg thing for the show of it, but they migrated over here and now we are in charge, and now they're doing what they're doing here and what they did over there. It's the like fascism and this mentality of psychopathy did not get defeated. This lives on, and we see it in the Epstein files.
Amen.
Oh, I'm muted. Oh, I'm not muted. Crap. Okay. Yeah. No. Well, there was. I think that's a very few people really want to go into this film. I understand why, but I think it was important we did it. And we live in interesting times, right? We started Manchurian Candidate, and we had look at all the events. Like it's like world. We've kind of gone through this whole gamut, and of including Charlie Kirk and this and that. So, but trust the plan.
Yeah, we started that series. We started our earlier series on the Manchurian Candidate before Kirk.
Right.
We started this Sunday night thing on late August, and Kirk was killed. It's easy to remember, September 10th.
Remember also the Civil War shows we did, with Brett, and we talked about Leave the World Behind as well, and also the white noise and stuff. The programming was already there, and we were already picking up on that then.
They're literally trying to destroy the United States. They want this country destroyed. Yes. And you can see it in the urban centers. Like, this is the agenda. It's not by mistake or, negligence or incompetence and stupidity. And there's a lot of that, but they just don't give a crap. They don't care if it all goes down.
You remember all the CEOs quit after COVID? They, everybody just packed up and left. A lot of the big companies, I'd have to look it up exactly who, but there was a big exodus out of the business world because it's like they knew they were done. They took their chips and left the table. Yeah.
How about that? Well, the bridge crashed. I mean, that was also very important, symbolic. Was it George Washington Bridge?
The Key, Francis Scott Key.
Oh, Francis Scott Key.
And it's not fixed yet, right? See, that's the whole thing is they didn't fix what happened in Maui. They didn't fix what's going on in Pacific Palisades. They just don't. They're not intent on the growth. Is not the intent anymore. The U.S. was based on growth and civilization and passing stuff off to your kids. They don't care about that anymore. The elite class is the Salo class. It is the Epstein network, and I think that's maybe the chief takeaway of the Epstein files, the Epstein class, and Salo. So that's
and suck it up and deal. And then the thing is, though, the one thing that's dangerous is that you do have. I hate to say it, but I mean, you've got, shadow armies of various types of militarized immigrants that are ready to, get flashed up, and you got your, mind controlled Antifa psychos and your tranny shooters, and you've got just basic Americans who can't handle any stress when the cars, when the gas goes up to $20 a gallon, man, people are not resilient. I mean, you see people fighting over nothing. People get
super thin skins. Yeah. Wait till the gas goes up to 200, baby, because it'll affect every price of everything. I mean, you talk about people who can't afford 500. They won't be able to afford food. They won't be able to afford crackers.
Remember how
when
they fought over
I see others
masks?
degraded that I rejoice.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, look at people like this is the dissemination instead of seeing what is creating the system and getting your head out of your own little bubble, your little technotronic bubble space. I mean, people, they pull guns on that actually happened to my son. Like someone at a traffic light and the guy freaking pulled a gun on him, man.
Wow.
And it was just like some minor thing, who knows, probably nothing. But this, I mean, and you see all these like road rage. We stopped doing the mass murder tracker. Maybe we close to that. I mean, that was like sort of one of the classic things. But I mean, but it's like this is a historical shift. I mean, I believe that I trust the plan. No, I think. No, I think it's it should be possible for us to regenerate society in a different direction. But I think it's also, if things go down, it's time you just want to get out of the line of fire, man, because people are going to be going friggin' nuts.
I would get out of the urban areas as fast as you can, if you can, because you don't have any access to like the earth. You don't have access to grow anything, food and water and stuff like that.
A lot of those urban areas are part of that new world city collective where they give their allegiance to this, like Rosa Corey talked about it, how there are these like Chicago's one of them, and LA is one of them, where they are this like international cities collective bullshit, where they take orders from a international source, or it's not federal. It's like beyond federal. So that's, that was all planned out since the beginning of the green agenda and the tearing down of the old world. The green technocracy is the future, and slavery and feudalism.
Okay, so
Let's wrap it up.
All right, just to share the good news. So total 83 shootings, 1.12 per day, 112 killed, 295 wounded. So not too much. Not a little bit more than one per day mass shooting across the country. So there we go. Anyways, all right, that's it. So.
Till next time, guys.
Well, we can get those numbers up if we just reduce the people part of the portion. What's that Bill Gates quote where he's like, "We got to get those numbers up." Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it, Sean. William.
Yeah. Thank you,
Salo,
Hans. Thank you,
120
William.
days of Sodom. Yeah.
Everybody, please visit William Ramsey Investigates and check out that book about 9/11, Aleister Crowley and Prophet of Evil, and visit Resident State and listen to what Hans has got going on his podcast there, and Wake the Dead as well. Please, share and like, hit that subscribe button.
All right, guys.
That was it.
Good night,
Thank
everybody. Thanks for
Thank
listening,
you.
everybody. That's a rough show. God.